How's it going? Welcome to Good Company and welcome back to the Gigafactory. It's been about 3 months since we've visited the Gigafactory, and that's because real life has had to take priority over the YouTube channel, but we are back now and hopefully we'll be able to make a couple of videos every so often. And well, I really want to get this Gigafactory going and moving, and I think we've got a pretty good episode today. We're starting automation, so we are going to be using conveyor belts and all the conveyor belt parts to automate some of our assembly processes, which is pretty cool. So first of all, we are setting up our production of the conveyor belts. They literally just take plastic, gears and rods, so really easy to make. What I like to do is keep production of conveyor belts separate to literally everything else, so give them their own space, make all of the components in that one area so they're not interfering with other production lines and stuff. And also I like to give them their own storage, so I just put down a bunch of, well, really big shelves and declare them as sinks, and then also give them all the logistics slots, and that actually well, it just gives us like a storage space for the final conveyor belt parts. And because there's a lot of space on these shelves, they just keep filling up, and we shouldn't have a problem with running out of conveyor belt parts in the future. Just doing a little bit of housekeeping with research and also some company goals. I realized I wasn't doing I wasn't being 100% efficient with stuff, so just did a little bit of that. I wanted to get going on some robot stuff in the next few episodes, so I set off research for, I think it was some of the metal cases and some of the power supplies and stuff, which are going to be helpful in the future. Okay, so let's move on to the main part of the episode and start automating. When it comes to conveyor belts on this game, I'm always a little bit too ambitious and I want to try and automate everything. However, that gets me into a right mess and it always goes wrong, and I just can't sort it out. So I thought, you know what, we'll do it bit by bit and we'll automate one section at a time so we don't get overwhelmed with stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is come up with a automatic way of taking the final product off the shelf and transporting it to the courier pallet. I think that's a good place to start, mainly because I like the fact that it gets the final product off the shelf straight away. So as you know, modules and components and materials all stack up. However, the final products don't actually stack up on the shelf. One slot for one product, and you can run into a big problem with that, and you really need to put a dedicated shelf down. However, if you've got a automatic way of getting them off the shelf, well, you only need one slot, because as soon as the product goes into that slot, automatically gets taken out, and that leaves room for more modules on your shelves, which is really useful in the future. So the more complicated your products get, the more modules you'll have in them, and you'll soon find that you'll run out of logistics slots on the shelves. So I thought a good place to start would be to automate the picking up of the final product and transportation. Now, I did go through a few little designs like in a practice game, because, well, for a video, you don't want to see me putting conveyor belts up and down, left and right, all over the place, because it would just take hours and hours sped up, because I went through a few iterations of this, and I think this is probably the best that I came up with. Maybe could do with a little bit of work, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, to be totally honest. So we've got basically two assembly tables for one shelf, and splitters and mergers and stuff, and the conveyor belt is just going to run around the outside of the building, and then we can add conveyor belts into that with mergers and stuff, and basically have I don't know how to describe it, like a carousel, I guess, where the conveyor belt's going to be going around the outside, and then other conveyor belts will just feed into it. This isn't going to be the final place for these courier pallets. The conveyor belt may actually go all the way across the factory to a final place for the product to be sold. I haven't really decided yet, but this is definitely not going to be the final place for the courier pallets. I just did it here because they were already there and I couldn't be bothered to move them. So like I said before, I wanted to start off small, so I decided to start off with just doing 2 of the products, just automating 2 of the products, which were the pocket computer and the virtual pet. But they turned out pretty well and they fit in very nicely. So I thought, you know what, there's a lot of space here. Let's put a 3rd down. So we start automating the calculators, and you can see the idea that I'm having here. This is where we can feed in the conveyor belt from like each little assembly area into the conveyor belt that goes around the outside of the building. It's a little bit fiddly with how the conveyor belts are built at the moment, because you have to delete the conveyor belt up to a point and then rebuild it. A little bit fiddly, but it's not too bad. And as you can see, we have it's kind of like a modular design. So we create these little modules of assembly areas and they can just be replicated, and then the conveyor belt will just come out the back and then you can direct that anywhere you want to go. We are going to stick with 4 assembly tables making each product to begin with. I don't know if we'll be able to increase that amount in the future. We'll have to see how much space we've got, but we will start deleting some of the other assembly tables in the other half of this building. Knowing my luck, I would have deleted all them tables and then messed this up, and we would have just made no money and the company would go bust, and well, game over. Talking of game over, I did notice we were actually running out of money, so I had a last ditch attempt to try and make some money this episode, and I saw we had a fairly easy assignment to do, which I think was just doing like screws. So I put down a little area over here just to make some screws and hopefully get back in the cash. Turns out though, we're just running out of LED matrices, so I need to sort that out at some point. So really happy with the progress this episode. First bit of automation done. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the workforce. Stay safe, have fun. I'll see you on the next one.